Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today we're going to talk about Marvel's Civil War issues 3 and 4. I do have to say that in these issues, Mark Millar, the writer of the story, takes a couple of pretty interesting decisions that at first didn't work for me, but with time, I started to like them more and more. Especially retroactively with everything that happens with the initiative and way further down the line with the Secret Invasion. A couple of really interesting seeds for that crossover are planted in this one. So what was established in the two previous issues, we have Captain America rebelling against the superhero registration. He has pretty much started an open war against Tony Stark, who at this moment was the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Issue 3 actually starts off with Tony Stark trying to get the X-Men on his side of this whole conflict. He's having a little chat with Emma Frost, and it's established that both of these characters seem to have a little bit of history with each other. And Emma basically tells Tony, look, we're going to sit this one out. We're going to stay on the sidelines. I think during this particular time of the X-Men, there's only 198 mutants left. And almost all of Marvel's mutants are living at the X-Mansion at this moment under the protection of, surprisingly, Sentinels. I think it was called the Sentinel-1 program, where the Sentinels were fused with Stark Tech. But we're going to get Civil War tie-ins with the X-Men that felt really forced and didn't feel part of the overarching crossover. But Tony Stark does not leave empty-handed because Bishop joins his alliance. Then the story cuts to Captain America, who's like in discussion with the top brass of the rebels. So we have Cap, Daredevil, Hercules, and Bill Foster. So for those who don't know, Bill Foster is Black Goliath, and when I saw that character, I immediately knew he's gonna die because he's pretty obscure. And a lot of times when they bring in these lesser known characters, they're basically expendable. You always get a cheap death where the writer's trying to heighten the stakes of the story. So what happens is Captain America and his team get wind that there's this chemical plant and they need help with an evacuation. His team moves in to try to rescue as many people as possible, but when they arrive, they realize it's a trap. Tony Stark's forces are ready and waiting. Obviously, at first, they tell Cap to stand down to give himself in, but this is not the case. And we get a really brutal battle between both factions, especially the battle between Captain America and Iron Man, where Cap takes a lot of punishment. So the battle sort of reaches a stalemate when Tony Stark calls on his ace in the home. He has a Thor. He's not the original. Like, no one knows this at first. I remember when I was reading this issue, when I saw this Thor, he had his old school 80s look, and something felt off about him. Note, prior to this, Thor and all the Asgardians had died during Ragnarok. So what happens with this Thor, he goes full on Terminator on Cap's forces. He starts obliterating them. And then he blasts a hole through poor Bill Foster's chest. He has no mercy. Black Goliath dies on the spot. Both factions are pretty shocked with what just had happened, but Cap's forces take advantage of the situation and they retreat. Now I have to say, this is a really messed up death, and what happens next for poor Bill Foster is even worse. Since they can't shrink him down, they have to bury him in his giant form, and the whole funeral is just really messed up. After the battle, quite a few characters on Team Cap's side just decide not to fight anymore. So he loses Cable, Nighthawk, and Stature at that moment. Then we discover what's the deal with Thor, that obviously he's not the original, he's a clone. He's a creation of Hank Pym and Reed Richards. He has a robot brain and lacks any type of morals. Now, when I read this story, I thought to myself, lack of judgment, and ethically, this is really, really wrong. But further down the line, we're going to discover that Hank Pym is actually a Skrull infiltrator. And he's sort of taking advantage of this whole situation to cause more divisions within the superhero community. Also, this clone Thor further down the line is going to cause a lot of trouble for many heroes. He's going to evolve into this character called Ragnarok. And at the end of issue 4, we discover that the government's going to expand the Thunderbolts program, and they're going to let in a lot of questionable characters there. So I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. Bye.